Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Stucky's Travels. Today we're going to bring you part 2 of Thailand.
We're going to talk about the north part of Thailand, and we're wearing some shirts from Thailand. I believe we paid 100 baht, about $3 each for these shirts, which are long sleeve, but they're very, very lightweight, almost see-through, in fact, on the white ones. And so it protects from the sun and is helping with the hot temperatures, but still lets you dress appropriately. Also, there's a lot of jewelry to purchase. Beaded bracelets. This one is made out of seeds. Took a lot of time to make that. They also are really creative with carving coconut shells. So this is an elephant necklace that was made from coconut. So many cool souvenirs at such great prices.
So many.
So as you can see on the map, we're going to start in the southern part of the northern part of the country with Chiang Mai, then move towards the border to Tatan, then over to Chiang Rai, and then up to the Golden Triangle area, which is where Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand converge. So in Chiang Mai, we visited several places, including the Umbrella Factory. The government came up with the idea for employing senior citizens just outside the city so that they didn't have to find transportation into the city for work. It's also slightly easier work than some of the jobs. The ornateness of the paintings is quite amazing, but the prices were even more amazing. So here is our umbrella. As you can see, the hand paintings are fantastic. This umbrella was only 70 baht, so less than $3. As you can see, it's very hard to resist these purchases when they're so reasonable. They would also paint on any of your items, so this was my security billfold that I had with me, and they just very quickly painted a butterfly and a bird on there for me for like $1. So really awesome place to visit.
And the next place we visited was Doi Sutape, which is the tallest mountain around. And as legend has it, somebody found a bone, the shoulder bone, and they assumed the shoulder bone was from Buddha himself. And supposedly had some magical properties. The king didn't believe it had magical properties, but a king of one of the provinces believed that it did. And so the bone broke into two segments. One segment is at another temple, but the other one, the king of the province took on a white elephant, and the white elephant marched and marched, went up to the top of the mountain, and then fell over dead. And the king believed it had something special to do with this location, so he had the temple built. Here on the left, you can see the Naga. Like I talked about in the last episode, lots of dragons, and these Naga actually come from the serpents that they supposedly see in the rivers around here.
So the city center has a stone wall all the way around it, and this goes back to all the way back to the 12 and 1300s when there were enemy dynasties that were close. This helped protect and fortify the main part of the city. The wall has held up very well over time, and as you can see, is something popular for tourists to check out.
So here you can see different meats. I think these are fish balls along with some other things that they'll cook right on the street for you. 5 baht is very cheap. It's something like 15, 16 cents per stick.
There's also a lot of curries and different types of soup and rice dishes. And so this was just somebody with their shop set up, and you could go and pick one of these to have. You can see that one in the very center has like crayfish type things in it. Probably be like similar to our jambalaya here in the U.S. Spicy.
Kind of. Here's a bunch of different desserts. You can see in the middle what looks like banana leaves, and it's actually what they are. It's sticky rice that's been cooked inside these banana leaves and steamed, and they're really, really good.
So then we left the city area and headed for a 3-day hill tribe trek, climbing through the mountains. This was one of our porters, so we carried our own belongings, but things like extra water for the group, our food for the meals, things of that sort, our porters carried for us, and that was their job. Really uneven footing, Most of us were wearing like hiking boots or good tennis shoes, and as you can see, he's wearing flip-flops.
So this is the place that we stayed the first night. All of us, I think there were 20 of us roughly, and we all slept on the floor of this hut, which was actually not that bad. Temperature was in the 70s at night, so felt pretty good. And then you can see our toilet down there to the left.
Then we continued hiking the next day through lots of areas that had rice paddies, as you can see on the left. They do build up higher areas amongst the rice paddies, not only to allow you passageways to walk, but also to kind of compartmentalize where the water is staying for what point in the rice's development it's at. One of our porters in the middle there with his wife once we arrived at the village where he lives. And then the picture on the right, all of the local people sort of have a lot of religious beliefs. And this ritual that they did was tying white strings around our wrists for safe travels.
And here's some of the ladies that made some of the scarves, and as you can see, they're wearing some of the sarongs that they actually produce, and that's their livelihood.
So as Miles was saying, it is their livelihood. So when tourist groups come through, there's usually one group of tourists per week. And so on one of the mornings when you're there, you wake up in the morning and they've put all these beautiful handmade scarves all over the place on these lines. And then they hope that you'll pick and buy their scarf or sarong or billfold, necklaces, jewelry, bracelets. And they use that money to be able to send their children to school. This village has a kindergarten through fifth grade school. But once their students are older than that, they have to pay money to send them to a school elsewhere. And so the money that they save from the tourists buying these things is the money they can use to send their children off.
So here you can see an example. These are all the kids that were in this village. They were very young. As she said, the older ones were all gone at school. The ones on the left were so small, we actually helped them bring their dessert that we were serving back to their house.
So one of the things that's done as an exchange is they're allowing us to stay in their village overnight and teaching us about their tradition and culture. In exchange, we make them a meal of their choice. So they have options. So they chose dessert with our group, but maybe the week before they chose meat or vegetables. The dessert wasn't really what I would consider a dessert. It was pumpkin. It did have a little bit of cane sugar, but it's certainly not like a dessert that we're used to.
And so later in the evening, a bunch of the kids actually came and sang to us in the hut that we stayed in.
So they sang their traditional songs to us, and then we sang fun songs to them, like Old MacDonald Has a Farm and Jingle Bells and things like that.
And we got to play some soccer with them, some of the older kids.
And visit their elementary school that you can see on the right.
This was a nice waterfall in the area, but really what we used it as was our shower. So there was a nice little seat that we could sit in as the water poured over our heads, and we could bathe.
So one of the things that we did was help prepare our dinner, and this was very labor intensive. So you put the rice in its original form into the hollowed out log on the right hand side of the picture, and then using your leg, you would operate this seesaw-like lever that would have that other stick smashing into the rice. That would cause the shell that's around each grain of rice to break free, and then you'd have to use a sifter to get the rice to go to the bottom and then the lighter hulls to go to the top. They'd brush those off, feed those to the chickens, and the process would continue. A young unmarried girl would spend as much as 2 hours a day doing this process for the evening meal.
And here you can see a closer view of what the rice paddies, rice fields look like, and how thin those trails were that we were walking on.
And another of the ladies working in the rice paddies.
And then now you can see the nice trek that we had. It wasn't exactly flat, but it was a lot of fun for most of us.
The what's across our shoulder is a water bottle holder. That was one of the things that we purchased. We had to rent some supplies for the trip, like sleeping bags and mats and sarongs if we didn't have the appropriate for women. If we couldn't wear a swimsuit, for example. Another thing they sold was the water bottle holders, which were quite handy.
And then we got to go kind of through the forest, riding on the back of an elephant.
I know that some people have varying opinions about whether riding on elephants is appropriate or not, but I will say that this location took very, very good care of the elephants. I felt like they were treated properly. We did feed the elephants bananas and things like that. If you don't feel comfortable with going on an elephant ride for whatever reason, there are lots of other elephant places that you can visit in Chiang Mai, even ones where the elephants take a paintbrush and paint a picture that you can buy. To all different sorts of rescues for the elephants. So next we headed north, almost to the Myanmar border, to a town called Tat Ton that's located on a river. And our hotel was right next to the river. There were lots of dragonflies and damselflies. And we were only spending one night here, but we did get to see the culture of this town. This was the food we ate. If you look really closely, you can see a little octopus or squid leg there. That's a pretty common food in Thailand, is different sorts of seafood, including octopus that are still completely intact. So one of the things that we did while we were in Tat Ton was we went to their temple, which was on a very high hilltop. And as you climbed up, there were different Buddhist things as you went. But this one was a new construction. So that dragon in the middle, as you can see, isn't like the pictures you've seen of other places. They were still working on building them, and we actually got to watch workers with the cement and their trowels and their special little tools to get that ornate look of the cement. Very labor intensive.
And then, as you can see, another lady with some things for sale.
And I believe that the one that I'm wearing in that picture is actually this one, the bracelet. It's too hard to resist, really, because it's their livelihood, but, they're only asking for like 30 cents, 40 cents for these bracelets that are handmade, so it's a great deal, and it makes you feel good about supporting them.
So next we headed to Chiang Rai, and we visited Wat Rong Kun, otherwise known as the White Temple, as you can see here. It is privately owned. It is not a normal temple.
They're planning on working on it until 2070. So one of the neat things we're able to do is actually watch the workers working. We're able to ask our guide how long it took to make each of these ornate pieces, which we'll zoom in on here in just a second. But a really interesting project. It costs 100 baht to get in, so only about $3, and that helps sustain being able to pay these workers to come and be artisans. So well worth the money, and again, helping support the local economy.
And it's actually an artist who bought this place, this old temple that was falling down, and there's all sorts of very neat art inside. There was an earthquake in 2014 that seemed to demolish some of it, but engineers went in and decided it could be rebuilt, and so the artist has decided he's going to continue to rebuild it until he's done.
There are beautiful paintings inside, like Miles said, but you're not allowed to do any photography inside. So that helps ensure that more people will visit to see how beautiful the paintings are inside.
So just some more ornateness that we saw at the White Temple.
Next, we traveled to a hot spring. Very, very warm water. As you can see on the right, we're swimming in it, but they had to pipe in cold water to help counteract how hot the hot springs were, the natural thermal spas. On the left-hand side, they're actually boiling eggs. So we got to do both swim in the hot springs and then boil our own egg in the thermal springs.
And for you scientists out there, the temperatures don't exactly match up. 87 degrees Celsius is not 243 degrees Fahrenheit, but it was hot either way.
Next, we traveled up to where Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand join. They call that area the Golden Triangle. It's on the Mekong River.
And just some of the things we saw at the Golden Triangle.
In the next episode, we'll move to the southern part of Thailand. This is the part that you most often associate with scuba diving, snorkeling, the island life. There's some beautiful national parks that have like sort of jungle-like atmosphere. So very different than the mountains of the north. And we're looking forward to talking about that in part 3.
See you next time.
Thank you.